We're going. We're good.
All right. Time is now 6:01 p.m. and we will call this meeting to order.
Please join me as I pray. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise as we gather here tonight. We ask for your continued presence as we conduct the city's business. We ask for your protection as things stir up in the Gulf, that wherever the storm may go, we pray for all those affected and ask for your protection around them. Please, Lord, guide us so that all we do can be in your glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On honor of the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right. All council members seem to be present today, so we're good there. Chief, any public comments? No public comments. Good to see you, Mr. Gregory, again. Consent agenda, budget report, July 2024, approval of minutes from regular meeting held August 12th, 2024.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record reflect, the motion carries. Okay, presentation. A, after action report, Hurricane Beryl.
Mayor, City Council, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
You'll notice that Mr. Forrester handed out these booklets. This is an initiative led with the intent of providing you guys with detailed information about our efforts with Hurricane Beryl, pre-event, event, post-event, and recovery. Mr. Forrester asked me to be brief. Actually, he told me to keep it under 10 minutes, and I'm going to do my best. So I'm not going to go through all the information in this book, but I do encourage you to take a look at it when you get a chance. There's a lot of good stuff in there. We began tracking Beryl on June 28th when it was about 3,700 miles from Richwood. It was a tropical depression. And I can tell you that I'm pleased that we got hit by Beryl when we did and at the level we did. And I know you probably don't hear an emergency management coordinator say that they're pleased that we got a hurricane very often. But when you consider the fact that during its trek from its original location to Richwood, Beryl climbed to a Category 5. As a Category 5, we'd be having a totally different conversation than we're having today. So I'm grateful and happy that if we were going to get a hurricane, that it was a Category 1 and that it was Beryl. It made landfall July 7th. We activated the EOC at 8 o'clock p.m. and by 10 o'clock p.m. we were already feeling the effects of Beryl. In the midst of a lot of rain and high winds, I decided to go out and do a survey in the field. And I was specifically looking for flooding on the roadway and what our outfall ditches looked like. And I was super impressed with what I found. Very minimal roadway flooding, and those roadways that did have some flooding on it were easily passable by vehicle as long as there wasn't a tree across the road. And several of the roadways did have trees blocking them. The outfall ditches were filled up to the brim, but water was moving, and I think that that played a big role in the lack of flooding that we saw during this event. And I think credit should go to previous council, previous mayor, current council, current mayor, Cliff Custer and his public works guy, Mr. Forrester, anybody that had anything to do with the improvement of our outfall ditches, I think deserves a round of applause, because I have seen the city of Richwood flood under much less rainfall than what we saw during Beryl. And I'm super impressed. A lot of trees went down. Winds were, gusts of winds were reported as high as 90 miles an hour. I can tell you when I went out and did my site visit that the truck was shaking considerably. Wind was blowing sideways, and it was no joke. So I think the biggest issue that we suffered was damage by debris. And I think at the end of it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Forrester, but we saw something of like 50,000 cubic yards of vegetative debris that was picked up. Like 22,000 cubic yards of C&D debris. Immediately after landfall, kudos to Public Works and the fire department. Several roadways were being blocked by down lines, were being blocked by trees. And the number one priority was to ensure that all the citizens of Richwood had access to emergency services, that nobody was blocked off from police, fire, or EMS. And Cliff and his guys and fire department did an absolute phenomenal job making that happen. In no time flat, roadways were clear and passable. During the recovery process, we opened up a cooling center. We handed out cases of bottled water. We fed linemen and provided them access to our showers, which they were super grateful for. Apparently they're having a difficult time getting a shower after a day's work. So I'm told, and I think Eric just mentioned it, I'm told that overall cost of us responding to Hurricane Beryl was like $1.1 million estimated. I think Tricia's going to talk later about, 75% we hope to recoup from FEMA, right? Thank God we had that money. I'm going to close with the fact that I think we all ought to be very, very proud of city staff. Kirsten did an amazing job communicating with the public, countless hours on the phone, answering questions and directing folks. Cliff and his guys, phenomenal at keeping the water up the entire time and taking care of other issues. Trish did a great job on logistics and making sure that everybody stayed fed and that we stayed hydrated. Mr. Forrester did an incredible job leading me. I think everybody here knows that this is my first real experience with being an emergency management coordinator, and his guidance was considerable. Truly helped me function in this role. As the emergency management coordinator, my responsibility is to give orders and direct people to go take care of things. And one of the best things about this event was that was almost unnecessary. Your staff, your city staff knew exactly what they needed to do and did what they needed to do without any prodding from me telling them what they needed to do. They made my job super, super easy. So hats off to them. I am impressed. If I have to work another hurricane, I hope it's with these folks right here. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
You see anything else you might need in the future
Oh, there's always
to ease
something you
your duty?
might need in the future. That would be a difficult question for me to answer right now. But if you give me some time, I can certainly put a list together for you. I like toys.
So
We have
Cliff,
some on the supplementals tonight.
I'd like to say something. If a storm brews like we have right now, if we can get heavy trash picked up before it comes, because we had, our whole neighborhood, I mean, my street had 5 houses with heavy trash out the first of the month, and then this storm brewed, and we had to go pick it all up and bring it all in because heavy trash didn't pick it up when it was supposed to.
We put out a notice for that earlier, that the dump is closed.
We've got stuff right now out that's been out since the first of the month, still hasn't been picked up, and we're fixing to have winds tomorrow. of 50 or 60 miles an hour. So now I've got my kids bringing in stuff. My neighbors took all their stuff in because heavy trash isn't picking it up.
The dump is
Things
closed?
That we're told,
The dump is closed. We can't get in the dump.
but no one's told us.
We did. We
We
put out
did.
public notice
There
on
are
Friday.
notifications.
If you're subscribed to our citywide alerts,
So, yeah, I'm not.
you should be. We do many campaigns trying to get everybody signed up for citywide alerts so that these messages do make it to
So
everyone.
is that like a text or?
It's
like-
on the water bill this
Text,
month.
email, phone call.
It's on the water bill this month. It actually tells you how to sign up for. Is that right?
It's all over our
Yeah, yeah.
website.
It was
it's
also on
everywhere.
Facebook. I believe you follow the
I don't do
Facebook
social
page.
media.
But it's out there. The
Any
information
longer?
was put out by phone call, email,
Yeah, I don't do
and a telephone call all last week that the dump was closed
so. Okay.
and that heavy trash was beginning to be picked
So
up
I
on Saturday.
emailed- Is it Kylie?
Katie,
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
She talked to me about it this morning.
Yeah, she didn't tell me the dump was closed. She just said she would look into it. So.
Right, because she was going to reach out to William to see how much of a priority they were going to be able to
So
put
how
on
long
it.
is the dump closed? Do we know? Like, do we stop putting our heavy trash out now for how long?
I guess until further notice.
But I do appreciate the point. It's a good point to add to, preparations to, maybe we could.
But clearly, I'm not the only one that didn't get the notice because there's 4 houses on my street right now that still have stuff.
Well, the
sitting
notice
out.
was to leave it out until through this week, but the storm was not
Oh.
even declared until yesterday.
Well, yeah, and I'm talking about the previous storm too. We had neighbors and myself that had.
And it's
stuff
just
that-
timing. The first storm was the 4th of July. It's the first week. It's the same timing, exact. So it's difficult because
Normally
it's
they pick up on
the
like,
first full week of the
Saturday.
month.
Normally it's on a Saturday.
It starts on a Monday, the first full week of the month, and they try to finish by Friday. It's not normally on a weekend unless there's extenuating circumstances. Both storms are just poorly timed, which we cannot help. We contracted a third party for debris removal or heavy trash removal. It's not like the city can just send a truck out and get it. We have to contact another company logistically who services other cities to have to try it, who are also being affected by this same event. So we did, and they will tell us as much as they can. They're going to put a priority on it, but I can't go out there and make them do it. I can just put in that request. So we do keep that in mind, and we're trying. It's just poor
Yeah,
timing of
I
both
just-
storms.
I had a bunch of trash in my yard from the last hurricane from people down the street that
Right, and I
didn't
understand.
take their stuff in like I did.
And the storm was July 4th weekend,
Yeah. So-
and it didn't start pick up until July 5th. So
I'll give you my contact info and I'll discuss with them so you don't have social media and I'll
Yeah,
do what I
I
can.
don't do social media.
well, if you visit our
No.
website on the top, it says Stay Alert, and you can click there. And if you want to share that with your neighbors that may not know also, I can't let people know if I don't have a way to let people know other than our website and social media and our water bills, which
So
we've
like
used.
I'm sorry, when I lived in Western Lakes, like Simonton sent out text messages for all of this stuff. I didn't know if that's what y'all had.
That's what
We
the
do.
alert will do.
Right,
It
that's
will
what you-
text
but you
it.
have to opt into that.
Okay.
It'll
will-
be
will
however you
text you,
choose.
It will email you, and it will call you.
Okay, all right. That's the same as
Mm-hmm.
Simonton. Perfect. Okay.
Another thing that we might be able to prepare for in the future is, boarding up. You don't want to be carrying a big board up there when it starts winding. Once it gets windy, it's too late. So, I know that nobody wants to say, hey, go board up your house, and then the storm goes, 100 miles the other way. But maybe some precautions. I think that's kind of how it worked in our neighborhood was one person boarded up and everybody started going, oh, maybe we should board up. But, those are just things that we can maybe
It's all
do.
on our resources page. We have a plethora of, we've got page after page after page of information out there. Tells you who to contact, how to do it, whatever the case may be. I would implore people to go look at our website because there's
I
every,
wasn't aware of it, and clearly my neighbors aren't either. They've been there longer than I have. So I'll be sure to.
We have all of these.
If I recall, we had a alert set up that said, deal with debris a couple days before. Is that right? Do y'all remember that? That was one of the texts that came out prior to the storm hitting. It said,
We did.
maybe move for debris. But
We did. We put out notice before the last storm to please
Yeah.
pull back debris because heavy track was not going to be able to pick it up in time.
right.
So, we can only alert people if we have the ability to alert them.
Yes.
And I can only let people know to sign up for the alerts in so many ways. We've had it on utility bills in the past.
But I as well.
I also let everybody know in our subdivision that no more limb pickup, I guess.
Correct.
And we put out notice on that
So I
also.
did get with Josh and he put it on the Oakwood Shores Facebook page, but they didn't listen. There's still trees set out on the street.
Yeah, those
Right.
people.
And that, it's citywide.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Well, in conclusion, I think you can only be as prepared as you want to be for your structure and your homestead, so.
Yeah, I think y'all did a great job.
Y'all did a very
too.
good job.
So thank you for your extra efforts and help with this, everybody, so. And I mean, the whole city too. After the storm, I noticed people coming out of their houses and helping their neighbors, clean up their yards and stuff. I think it was,
You're spot on. That's one of the things I should have mentioned. I mean, mayor, other citizens helping those citizens that couldn't help themselves, right, that needed help. It was a beautiful thing to witness.
we'll step up when it's important.
Deal with the carver handed, so. Thank you for your presentation, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Thank you, sir. Sorry. Okay, moving on. Public hearing on proposed 2024-2025 budget.
So just call the public hearing open at 6:16.
The public hearing is open at 6:16.
Okay. So, Mayor, Council, I'm here to present to you our budget. We have had 3 or 4 meetings prior where we have discussed it, and so I hope that your questions have been answered up to now. Each of you should have a packet that has this picture of City Hall on the front. This is what I'll be going through. So, first page, and I'm just going to toot a little horn first. GFOA gives a Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, and part of stipulation of getting that award is included in your budget document. This award had never been received before 2020 by Richwood. We've received it every year since then. So I just hope that that shows you that this staff is working very hard to present to you a budget that we can be proud of, that does the best we can for the city of Richwood and its citizens. The cover page, this is required by state law to put it on here. It has a comparison of all the different rates, and we will be talking about rate in just a little bit. So if you turn to what says page 5, this is just some highlights of the general fund budget that I wanted to go bring to your attention. This is another budget that we feel we have worked very hard to keep it streamlined, without fluff, without excess. Every single line of this budget has been scrutinized and gone over with city manager, with department heads. There is nothing in here that the staff does not feel is appropriate and needed to provide the services we provide to the city. It has a positive number at the bottom, which is always a good thing. Some cities in our area this year are not able to do that. And so I am very happy to say that we are. Times have been tough, but staff has pulled together and made sure that we're doing what we need to keep this budget in a positive. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not sure which it is, our city depends primarily on ad valorem or property taxes. This is in contrast to other cities around us that have a lot of sales tax, a lot of other hot taxes for hotel rooms, a lot of different streams of revenue. About 80% of our revenue is property taxes. So we are really, really dependent on that. However, this year, our revenues are expected to increase because of assessed values, which we have no say over, but we will be presenting a decreased tax rate. Our revenue is projected to increase about 7%. Our expenditures are going to increase about 12.2%. We did budget a 4% COLA for staff. Our health insurance premiums have increased slightly, but we did do our due diligence in trying to find the best value we could, and we feel that we've done that. We did sign a new contract for dispatch services. They dispatch for our police and fire. We have that contract with Lake Jackson. Those costs went $31,000. We're still better off than if we tried to have our own dispatch, I believe. We contract with Clute for ambulance services. Last year we voted in a $3.50 ambulance fee, and that covered approximately $100,000 of the $161,000 cost of ambulance service for the community. We have included in the expenditures for the general fund some of the supplementals that we brought to council earlier this year. One being the engineering master plan for streets and parks. This will be included in a transfer from our general fund balance to cover this cost. In addition, we budgeted $700,000 that will come from general fund balance to transportation fund to reconstruct Cypress and Misty Court. We will, again, for the 5th year, be budgeting a transfer to the contingency fund equal to about 10% of budgeted expenditures. We also increased transfers to equipment replacement fund for fire department vehicles and equipment. One caveat on that, as Chief mentioned a little while ago, we've incurred around $1 million for Hurricane Beryl. We had that money in our contingency fund, so we didn't have to go to other sources for that money. We didn't have to borrow. I can't stress how important it is to have these reserve funds. 5 years ago, they didn't exist. So we can be very proud of ourselves that we're building up reserve funds to pay for hurricanes and equipment and vehicles. So for the disaster recovery, you won't see anything about that in this budget. We're still incurring costs. They're dwindling down, but we still are incurring them. We are working on reporting them to FEMA. It could take months up to years to get the recovery of about 75%. So you will not see that in the budget. I've been transferring as we need, like when we paid for the debris removal, transferred out of the contingency fund to cover that. When we get the recovery back from FEMA, it will go back into the contingency fund. So the next page is just a summary of the general fund, showing a change in fund balance expected. If everything matched this perfectly at the end of the year next year, we'd be adding approximately $50,000 to our fund balance with what the activity for this year. Any questions on that?
Just to follow up, you said 12% increase in what and 7% increase in what?
Let me find where it was. It's in under the revenues on that summary page. Total revenues projected to increase about 7%. And then the next line, expenditures are budgeted to be about 12.2 increase.
Got it. Thank you.
That does include the transfers though, the expenditures. So, the next page is enterprise fund. As we discussed last month, we set our utility rates to meet 3 goals. One was to cover all of our maintenance and operation for the enterprise fund. The second is to pay our debt that's attributed to the enterprise fund. And third is to set aside a 10% reserve to build for future infrastructure and repairs. The rates that we set, as you can see on the budget, meet these goals. Some of the costs are out of our control as far as costs that we spend on certain things. Costs that are in our control, again, every line is scrutinized and kept to what we feel is necessary for the operation of the utility plant. We're expecting operating revenues to increase by about 6.2%, and the expenses to increase by about 8.14%. Or to decrease, I'm sorry, the expenses are going to go down. Part of that reason is we had an engineering cost in there last year. We also made an error on budgeting for one of the line items for the operating lease to Clute. We do have some non-operating items within the enterprise fund, those being the debt that we pay. We did have one debt that has expired or been fulfilled. That was for a meter capital lease. So that line item is 0 this year. And then we have, again, for either the 4th or 5th year, transfers to the I&I fund and the capital improvement funds. So the net projected change net position is $162,663. If we combine that with the transfers to I&I and capital improvement, Richwood's setting aside $216,663 for future investment needs. And the next page is the summary of the enterprise fund. Is there any questions on there?
That $150,000 error, where did that go?
We had just doubled the amount that was going to Clute, so it wasn't spent. It was just, but that's why when we caught that error this year, it's correct. So it didn't go anywhere. It's just we realized we had, because at one point.
So where is it now? I guess, where's the money now? What
It would
drawer
be,
is it in?
It would be part of the bottom line for this year's budget, because we're spending 150 and it said we were going to spend 30.
Oh, I'm saying, so we had it, we collected it last year, the 150 grand.
It's
We
not a
budgeted
collection,
it
it's an
last
expense.
year.
It's an expense.
Right,
So we just didn't spend as much as we said we would in last year's budget.
okay, so where did that go, though?
It goes back into the net position,
It goes back into what?
to the net position or fund balance.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. The next page is the Crime Control and Prevention District. Again, you guys reviewed this last year, or last month, I mean. We had to bring it for public hearing last month, so nothing has changed from that. The next page is Court Technology and Court Security. This is 2 different funds that are funded from fees on our municipal court revenue. They are restricted to what they can be used for. The cameras in this room were paid for by that. So that we usually just put $2,000 of expenditure because we don't know what's going to come up into the budget, but if we spend it, we spend it that way. If we don't, it's there. Beautification is the next page. This is the fund that KRB works out of. We manage the money for them, although it isn't really the city's money. Their revenues come from a voluntary donation on the utility bills, as well as any other streams of revenue that they have. We do guide them, though, and advise them on their spending and help them to develop their budget. And then it becomes a part of ours because it is one of our funds. Okay. The next fund is the transportation. This is a general fund, governmental fund, but it is strictly for street sidewalks and drainage. This is where the transfer of $700,000 from the general fund comes into, and then you'll see that spent under capital improvements for the reconstruction of Cypress and Misty Court. Normally when we budget this, the revenues for this are the transportation fee which is on the utility bills, and that gets divided 3 ways between streets, sidewalks, and drainage. And then the sales tax, they get 0.5% of sales tax that is restricted to streets. And so that full amount goes to streets. So that's what's budgeted by each line item. Included in that this year, though, the $65,000 for the contract labor for Tradesmen International will come out of the streets line item. We budget the full amount of the revenue so that Cliff can spend as needed. He never spends it all, and then it just goes into fund balance.
And so all of this doesn't come out of our ad valorem taxes, this is all on the
This is all from
sales tax and
the-
then the fee on the utility bill.
Any other questions? Okay, the last fund we're going to look at is the General Obligation Interest and Sinking, or INS fund. This is where we pay our debt that is not attributable to the enterprise fund. We have no say in what goes in and out of this. A portion of our property tax is for debt. That is set by the requirement for the year. It goes in, we get a little interest off of it, and then we pay our debt requirements. So, but that is where it looks like we will be.
What is our total debt that we're paying this interest off of? Or this,
I have it on a spreadsheet.
it's
but
like
I
8
can-
million, something like that? Is that?
We, the last 2 issuances were a total of 9 million.
Okay.
For the,
That was 18,
we had a
19.
5 million for the North Water Plant and 4 million for street sidewalks and drainage. We have a couple other issuances. I don't know them off the top of my head because I always look at my spreadsheet. But we have one that this will be the last year we pay on it. So we're doing really well as
These
a
are just
city.
this is just like a mortgage, you make your payment every month.
Yes,
on
well, we
the
make 2
debt.
payments a year on each one. In January, we make an interest-only payment, and then in August, we make an interest and a principal payment. Any other questions? That is my presentation on budget. The full detailed budget is to the back of this packet. Are there any questions?
Do we have any council or public comment on this?
Is there anything we can do to lower the taxes?
It is lower.
What more?
I mean, honestly, and I'm not saying this because I think it's what people want to hear, it's because it's true. We literally go line by line, and if there's $100 that we don't think needs to be spent, it's not spent.
Amen.
We have this as bare bones as we can. The supplements are things that we think should happen, but we can go another year without, and we brought those to you, and they're included because we got no negative feedback on them. But really, for a city our size to have,
So just to point that out, what you're saying is we went from 0.54 last
We
year to
cannot discuss the
0.56.
tax
oh, we're not
rate.
talking on tax
Not
rate
yet.
yet.
Not discuss tax rate right now, we're only on budget.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, we can only talk on budget.
So if we don't have any more comments on budget,
We'll get to the tax rate, we can hash that out.
I'll close the budget hearing off right now. It's 6:34-ish, and we will move on.
Thank you, Trish.
Can I talk on tax rate?
Well, hold
Wait, let
on.
him open it.
Oh,
How are your eyes doing from all that? From
I'm
all this
fine.
hard work all year? Okay.
I'm ready for audit.
Are you really? You seem so excited.
Just open it. so maybe it's-
Okay, we're going to open the public hearing on proposed 2024-2025 tax rate at 6:34. And you have the floor again.
I'm it again. So, in discussing tax rate, we are recommending to you a tax rate of 0.535799 per $100 of taxable value. Of this rate, 0.085634 is our debt rate that is set for us. The remainder, 0.450165, is our maintenance and operation, which helps us to go to fund the government.
Can I ask you something before you carry on?
Absolutely.
What did you set our cap at?
Yes.
Not to exceed, what did you set it at?
535799.
No, last month?
That was the record vote.
535799.
So this looks a little lower than last year. I'm sorry. Carry on.
It is lower than last year's rate. So a little 2-minute lesson on municipal tax rates. Every year, the new rate options are calculated based on the prior year. So if you decrease a tax rate this year, you have decreased that tax rate forever, because you can only go so high. Last year, I found that cities under 30,000 can go a little bit higher in their tax rate than cities that are over 30,000 without incurring it going to a ballot. The state legislature, 5 years ago, I believe, set the cap. They reduced the cap from 8% to 3.5% for cities to raise their revenue. Inflation has been higher than 3.5% since then. So last year we were hurting when I was trying to calculate this, and I talked to our Kristen up at the, Kristen, I get my Kristens and Kirstens. Our appraiser, whatever she is. And she said that we could go as high as 8% because we are under 30,000 people. So when I say 8%, if you have the same property last year and it's on the roll this year, you can only increase the revenue you get from that property by 8%. That doesn't mean you're raising their taxes because their assessed value went up. Okay, so if their assessed value went up 10%, you can still only raise it 8%. So that is what we did last year, and that is what I'm proposing again this year. If we went lower than that, we would have a negative at the bottom of our general fund budget. And I don't want to have a negative. We would also impact our tax rate going forward because our max that we could go to would be lower every year if we went lower this year. I'm a taxpayer. I don't like to see high taxes, but this is still a tax rate lower than last year. We have, if you look at the next page, we have decreased our tax rate every year since 2018. So the back on the page that says 15, the bottom shows you a table of what this tax rate would do to different home properties. The 3.5% ceiling that the state mandates for cities over 30,000 is what the VAR rate is. So a $150,000 house would be paying $775.56. With our rate, they'll be paying $803.70. So it is an increase, but it's not an exorbitant increase. The NNR rate means no new revenue, meaning that same house I was talking about earlier, you can only get the same amount of revenue from them that you got last year, even though their value went up. So our taxable values went up. We had 10 million plus of new improvements. So we will have more revenue this year than we had last year. But our costs, as I said earlier, have gone up as well. So by doing this rate, we have $50,000 cushion. And that's with no fluff in our budget. But we are fully funding the government. We're fully funding our reserves. And we're doing the supplementals that we feel the city needs. Any questions?
Can I ask the question now?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good sign. I mean, we were paying 0.54 last year. individually, and then we'll be paying 0.53 this year. So that's definitely in the right directions.
Right.
And what I see down here, the tax levy on properties, every category has a decrease. Am I looking at that right? Every category has a decrease in the amount of taxes that they're going to be paying.
From the current rate, yes. Yes. Now, if their value went up from last year, that's not the same. This is saying if their value is the same.
Right,
But again, our appraised values, we have no say in.
right.
That's not the city.
I think that was kind of the frustration that a lot of people had last year, was the values went up so much.
They went up a lot last year because they got audited by the state and they were undervalued according to the state. So they went up. They can only go up 10% a year, and they went up the full 10%.
Mine went up 1,000. Just saying now.
I mean, the appraised value can only go.
Yeah, one good thing is they'll get relief from the port tax. That is no longer, now that
Yes.
was recently approved.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of relief there.
Now, I do want to say, I watch very closely in the newspaper what other cities do. And I can't speak on what they're going to end up with, but I speak on what they post as their record vote, like we took last month. And some cities are having a negative budget, and they're not doing what they can with their tax rate. And to me, to produce a negative budget is a bad trend to start for a city. And I think fiscally and fiduciarily, that would be the wrong move to take for the city. We have worked very hard over the last 4 years to get to where we have the cash that we can pay $1 million out for our city to recover from Beryl. We can buy $400,000 worth of equipment last year without debt. We're fixing a $700,000 2 streets without debt. So we have worked very hard in 4 years to go from where that was not even possible to where we're doing it. And I would hate to see us take a step back.
Would like to offer just a different perspective. You know, in Oakwood Shores, there's quite a bit of properties that could be built, and those are high dollar properties. And one of the things that I'm hearing, and not to throw anything bad out there, but is that the higher taxes for here is what's stunning the growth there. So, you know, you could look at it on a long-term perspective of if we were actually to lower the taxes to where people would start building there, it would actually drive in additional revenue.
So a couple of years ago, I just did a little research, and while I'm not saying Oakwood Shores doesn't pay a lot of tax, the
22% of your tax.
the portion that comes to Richwood averages about $3,400. So if we cut taxes and took away $100,000 of our revenue, we would still, even if every lot built,
It's a longer term.
yeah. But in the,
26% of y'all's taxes.
so I did.
That's without the build, without new houses, that's just empty
That's
lots.
just-
Okay.
I always jot down tax rates as they come out in the paper, and we're midway with the cities around us. We're not the highest, we're not the lowest, but we're midstream. So I don't feel like our taxes are exorbitant. Again, we are dependent on property tax. We're not Lake Jackson or even Clute that has a lot of sales tax. We just don't. So we have to have property tax to pay our bills. Any other questions? Okay.
Is that all you have for our tax rate?
All I have.
Any questions, no public comments on it? We'll close this public comments out at 6:44 on our proposed tax rate. Thank you, Trish. And put those little things over your eyes now, recoup them. Okay, moving on to discussion and action items. A, second reading, discussion and action on ordinance 24-518, amending, imposing, and updating water and wastewater impact fees on new development in the city limits to extent allowed by law.
Mary, so Mary. So this is what Morgan and Ryan have been working with us for months. The last SEAC, through the SEAC's meetings, and then public hearings we've held here in our council meetings. This is the final reading in action on the ordinance, which would enact the updated impact fees for the city.
So, council has a presentation within their packet. It did include the tiered maximum impact fees that we can charge based on the work that Strand's done, especially with the capital improvement project list, which was really based on. So what you see on the sheet in front of you is based off of a water meter unit starting at 5/8 and is tiered from there going up. And that's the maximum allowable impact fee. So we cannot charge any more than that.
Based on population, correct?
No, this is based off the capital improvements project list and the needs for the city in 10 years.
Based off of population growth.
No.
That's what your guys
Can
said
you
when he sat
help
up
me out?
there.
Okay.
Can you help me out?
Do you have a public comment to make on the item?
I do.
Okay, then you can stand up and make your public comment, but we can't keep going back with this
Yeah.
discord back and forth between staff and the public.
The mayor can tell you what, it'll be the city secretary.
Come on up.
Mayor, would you like to address that?
I'd like to hear what your comments are.
Yeah, so when the engineer came up here, he said that y'all's population was 6,900, what was that number exactly, 680?
Before we get in this population game, I've looked at several different sources, and everyone
Look at your
says a different
website?
number. Sir?
Did you look at your website?
Well, there's several different
Because
numbers.
on your website, as of last year, 2021, you had 4,081 listed on your website.
Okay.
Census says 4,781, so census actually has more population than y'all have on your own website.
Do you have an accurate number yourself?
Do I have, no, I go by the census because that's what everybody goes by. Electoral college is based off of
Can
census,
you just give him his
Okay.
right?
Yes, sir.
So a state gets electoral votes by census. If the US government uses census, why is the city of Richmond?
Okay,
not?
let's get to the point, sir.
The point is, if you are trying to build facilities for 9,000 people, which is what the engineer said, over the next 10 years, and we're only at 4,781, I'm using the census, not the numbers on your webpage. In 10 years, we'd be at 5,385 people in 10 years. And we're trying to build infrastructure for 9,000 people. That's added cost to the tax people, to the residents, that is facilities that aren't needed.
The people who
That's
pay
not
this
true.
are developers who come in. It's not on the taxpayer.
But those new facilities are gonna have to have people to work them, maintenance done. All of that stuff is not gonna be paid by impact fees. That stuff's gonna be paid by the taxpayer. So it all trickles down to the taxpayer.
Can I speak?
But he didn't want to hear from the city secretary.
So what the study did was try to build an estimate of what may be growth. The growth, the new building will not occur till we hit landmarks in population. Okay, so they say 9,000, you say 5,000 or whatever. We're not going to build till we get to those landmarks in population. What this does is it gives us an idea of how many are going to build so that we can charge impact fees to help offset the cost of that building when we get to the
I
point
understand that, but
that
those
we need
impact
it.
fees are being based off of inaccurate numbers, that's what I'm saying. So you're increasing the impact fees to the maximum, which is what you stated earlier, of numbers that are incorrect.
So if anything, the impact fees are higher
But
because they're saying.
But
that
arguing the
they're gonna
population is moot at this point because the land use assumptions has already been passed by council. So the council has already acted and passed that assumption of land use, which in turn, they have agreed with Strand's projection of the population. So that's not going to change, but council has already taken action on the land use assumptions.
But the numbers are inaccurate.
But council already ruled that they agree with Strand. That's my point. So your public comment can be against it, just letting you know that council cannot change those projections at this point.
So sitting on the board of the HOA at Oakwood Shores, we're gonna let y'all know that we don't accept this, and if this passes, we will figure out a way to stop it. So just understand that we're gonna move forward with an independent study to show that this is wrong if this passes. Because every single one of you are up there and we're voted by the people for the people. And this is not right.
Is that from a vote from the HOA?
It is. I'm the VP. I'm here representing them because there are two of them in Louisiana and one of them's at a football game. I don't know. So I'm here representing the HOA right now.
And that's okay. We can refer any of that to litigation or
Okay.
however you'd like to go about that.
I'd like to comment. Thank you, David. I had one of the neighbors ask me, he said, so what if a apartment complex moves in across the street, a big apartment complex, what are you going to do? Well, just to answer his question, if an apartment complex moves in across the street without jobs, then that person that moves into that apartment is going to take your job and you're going to be stuck with a $500,000 mortgage. That's pretty much how it works. By having this fee on there, that gives an apartment complex kind of a straight path to building. All they have to do is pay the, I don't know, $1 million fee or whatever it is, and they're set. It reduces our ability to not allow that to happen, I would say, referring to the code. I'll be honest with you, I did not read all 2,280 pages, but I read quite a bit of it. In a situation where an apartment complex came in and we weren't ready for them or whatever, if we didn't have the infrastructure, we could do a moratorium. Am I saying that right? That's a funeral thing? I'm sorry. Is it a moratorium? Okay, I appreciate it. Which could stop that. But by doing this, it really limits our power to be able to stop an apartment complex from moving in across the street. As far as this over here, we were told by Strand that it is a high risk area, and top of that, they're going to have to bring in 3 feet of dirt. If that, in the case that did happen, it would be a whole nother conversation, probably like a mud or something. In the 5 homes, I don't know, we'd probably be able to hook them up. I'm not really sure. But basically what it comes down to, in addition, is, we did have some meetings here. I don't recall those conversations. I recall saying that, we'd have 10 homes a year in Oakwood Shores, but as far as the apartment complex and the possible development, that wasn't part of the committee's discussion. I was at all the meetings. I am against this fee. I see it as a law. I read you guys the law last meeting. I don't have it in front of me, but the law is that we're required to be provided with the burden of proof in order to charge a fee to our residents. And right now, I don't feel confident that we have the burden of proof. I feel like the whole system was corrupted whenever it went outside of the advisory committee to make decisions on population, different developments. So I am against this. I don't think that it's good for Oakwood Shores. Just as, for instance, when we're talking about infrastructure in general with wastewater and water, on my street in Oakwood Shores, sometimes I get good water, sometimes I don't. I think it has to do with the flushing. I think y'all go out and flush it. I appreciate that. But right now, and the problem's not the city's infrastructure. There's nothing that you can do. The only thing that we can do to get clean water on my street is to build some houses and let that water flush through. That's all we can do. And by adding all these fees, even though this is pretty small, I mean, it's $3,000, or it's actually $380, or $3,800, but it's something that Oakwood Shores doesn't need. They're set. They don't need wastewater. They don't need water, but we need to build houses. And I think that by charging this on top of the high taxes and everything else, we're just kicking ourselves in the rear.
What about the rest of the rest of the city? Is it good or bad for them?
Well, that's a good question.
I'm just asking, because you keep talking about Oakwood Shores,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
you live,
no.
but what about the rest of the
I'd love to answer
city?
your question. So if you do the math of what we're saying of 10 houses per year in Oakwood Shores, I'm just going to say $3,000 instead of $3,800. But if you do that math of 10 houses per year over 5 years, that'd be about $150,000, right? Now, this survey costs us $150,000 every 5 years. So you're not getting anything. You understand that? So that's basically, it's just a waste of money. Honestly, whenever we first started talking about this and we discussed, I asked the question to the council, I said, you know, who's benefiting from this? And none of us had an answer for it. And to be honest with you, I think the only person benefiting from this is the engineer that's coming up here and giving us the presentation. I mean, it's not the first time I've had a salesman come in and tell me that I need to buy what he's selling, you know? So, yeah, this is not a good idea for us. This is not good at all. I don't think that we should be, in addition about apartment complex, you know, I just see us ending up spending about $1 million and them spending $1 million so that they can build an apartment complex. So yeah, I don't see, Mr. Yerson, I don't see you getting any benefit from in your neighborhood from this.
Well, and there needs to be a correction, Mr.
Okay.
Calendar. It's not $150,000 to assess this, it's about 70.
Okay.
So the math is not right.
Okay, I apologize. Last one was 150.
I understand, and that was the initial one, and this is the review, and will be reviewed from here on out.
Okay.
Past that, the impact fees, all we can say is that they lessen the burden on the utility customer to the best of our ability. If we would have had them many years before, we would have been in better condition with capital improvements. But really what this boils down to, thank you for your comments, and I don't want to cut in. It's either we do impact fees or we don't do impact fees. This is the maximum you can charge. You can charge anything less than this if you want to keep them. But they're here or they're not here.
And we currently have impact fees.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
And they're billed one time when they build the home.
That's correct.
Correct.
Applicable impact fees, of course, Oakwood, they're not on sewer, so they're not charged a sewer impact fee. That's just water.
They pay this when they get their permit.
But any residence being built that utilizes water and sewer, charge both of them.
And we
And it would be
contracted the
anywhere in the
firm to
city,
do the
correct?
study
Anywhere in the
because
city,
it's
but-
required by law, because we,
Once we establish
Collect impact fees.
Impact fee schedule, it's
Yes.
required by law to have it reviewed
every 5 years.
Yes.
And the money that we take in is put into the capital improvements fund.
A good example, council, is item D tonight on your agenda. And if you want to see what happens is you live in a city with aging infrastructure, and there has to be a mechanism for us to improve, enhance, and create new capital funds. Because as soon as you turn them on, the North Water Plant is a prime example. The day we pump water through it, it started degrading. The well will run dry eventually, the pumps will go bad eventually, the tanks will go bad eventually, sewer system's the exact same way. We have to have a mechanism to recoup those costs. And line D is a great example. We've got a $300,000 ask tonight. So as much as it pains us to set aside funds or to gain funds, you can only get revenue in this city through tax levy or impact fees, franchise fees, or sales tax. That's pretty much it. So we have a $300,000 ask tonight. And this is one tool or one ability for us to collect those funds. You can get them through taxes, you can get them through sales tax, you can get them through franchise fees, but that we're pretty much limited.
And
So-
I'm not saying that I'm against impact fees. Impact fees are great. They're done in us all the time.
Sure.
my opposition and the rest of the board is how y'all are coming up with that number right now and that maximum increase. I've never met a city that don't take the maximum increase. Nowhere are y'all gonna go, well, let's just raise it 10%. You're gonna take the maximum. That maximum right now is way too much based off of the numbers. I'm for impact fees. Impact fees need to be done because infrastructure needs to be maintained. That's not what I'm saying here. If we already have impact fees, that's great. What I'm saying is the maximum amount that is being justified here is being done incorrectly. That's what I'm stating. I'm not against impact fees.
And so
I do think that's a good point, is that we possibly could be voting for something that had incorrect data on it.
Okay.
And it'll be reviewed again in 5 years.
Well,
And the impact.
and the law, by the way, is that we only have to do the study by law if we charge the impact fee. So 5 years from now, we could not be even having this study and have this expense in 5 years.
What's our current impact fee?
Our current impact fee for water is $2,414 per unit, sewer is $2,937.
So if I could make one comment, our infrastructure is gonna wear out, whether we have impact fees or not. Our community is going to grow, whether we have impact fees or not. If we do not charge impact fees, the money will come from utility rates, which everybody already complains are too high. So we can either have the developers that are coming in pay for the impact fee, or we can have all of the citizens pay for the new growth.
And I think, so I can get past the elephant in the room and move forward, or not move forward at all. I think there's a separation between the methodology and how we got here and what's actually in place. I can't combat that with this study. I can't talk about it. It's a yay or nay based on that argument. With impact fees, there is a lot of talk about population, I understand, but your infrastructure growth is off of connection count. It's not population.
But that, in the code, it specifically says normal, not each number, from what I read. Throughout the code, like I said, I didn't read all 2,280, but we have to provide 37 PSI to each home under normal conditions.
6 gallons per minute. Yes,
Right.
sir. Yeah.
So, I mean, just another perspective, if I don't know, I went to my neighbor's house and used the restroom, I'm still using the same amount of infrastructure. Population does matter, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
But population's even gonna be greater than connection.
Okay, so, it's an argument, it's either a go or no-go for the population, or we work with this.
This ordinance is not adopting the population. It
It's
is
a
the
charge
fees.
or no charge.
Yeah, and I
or we
appreciate
work
the
with
comment,
this fee.
but we're charging a fee based on a plan. So we have every right to talk about the plan
Yeah, absolutely.
and how we got to that point.
Well, and I think, I understand, Mr. Challenger, I'm not trying to rush you or anything. I'm just trying to make the case from staff's perspective, that you can talk about it all night.
Yeah, I
But
think
it is charge or don't charge it.
Based on what you currently have and what is proposed, you roughly right around a $1,200 increase, pretty much. And if you look at that over the past 5 years in inflation and cost of chemicals, cost of equipment, cost of maintaining water and wastewater lines, you're pretty much right in line with, with the increase in cost of stuff.
But by law, we can't charge it for that. We can't charge it
No,
for
but I mean,
repairs.
you can argue till the cows come home on whether you're charging based on, population or lines or whatever. The bottom line is there is a fine, there's a cost, and we have to recoup it somewhere,
But I think Mr. Challenger's argument is the manner in which we determine that cost is,
Yeah.
The
believed
way
not
you
to be.
determine it determines how much you can raise that impact fee.
Let's get to the bottom of this. I'm just
Impact
gonna-
fees, that hurts people that build houses.
Yeah, I get it. Hold on.
I mean, it's an
Let's-
impact to building your house.
That's correct.
It's an expense.
Mr. Gregory,
We're
in all
gonna
due
have to-
defense.
We're gonna have to.
Yeah, there's no more public
Council needs
comment
to
on
start
this.
discussion on this, so these outbursts are gonna have to.
I don't think it's a good idea.
Is this a public hearing?
No,
The-
it's not.
The comment time is done.
It's not a public hearing. That was last month.
I'm not trying to be rude, but there is a process that we need to follow.
At the end of the day, I don't think it's fair that current residents, you, I, and everybody here, are gonna have to absorb the fees that are quote-unquote miscalculated. So impact fees, I do believe, are a good thing. And we'll revisit the survey in 5 years, you know.
And we'll spend another $150,000 or 70.
Because that's required by law,
No, it's
because we
not.
collect the impact fee.
Exactly. If we don't collect the impact fee, we don't have an
And
expense
if we
in
don't
5
collect
years.
the impact fee, then the burden is on the existing residents who live here.
May I ask you-
And there's no
Don't collect the
burden
impact.
on the person who moves here.
Your taxes and your
develops.
utility rates
And that's
will go up
unfair.
What are we
substantially.
developing?
Wait, Mr. Challenger.
New
do you-
growth.
The
I
apartment
have- I
complex?
do have
This
one
was it
question.
on the last comment here.
If we don't do the impact fee, do you have a suggestion as to where we recoup these costs?
You don't, this isn't a for-profit entity. This is a,
Well, let me rephrase then. So, for example, if, like you mentioned, say an apartment complex wanted to come in, or another subdivision wanted to be built,
That requires
that
infrastructure.
would require infrastructure to be built in order to supply water to those homes so that people could come in, build a house and all that. If the city has to absorb that cost, how do we absorb
What is
that?
your
Who pays
suggestion
for
on
that?
I'm saying we don't do it. Because per the plan, they're
So-
saying that they want to build possibly an apartment complex over there and possibly 5 homes over here. I'm saying that if we don't have the infrastructure already, that
Then don't allow.
we don't do it.
So
We
don't
don't,
allow the building.
that's correct.
The developer pay for it. That's what MUDs do.
Or have the developer
Right
pay
now,
for it.
they're having to pay to upgrade water.
Okay,
systems
okay.
And wastewater plant.
Let's go ahead and ask council for motion on this.
Just one more comment, that this is
it.
a
This is
law.
it.
This is a law.
Yes.
Okay? It better be the right data for, I'm not gonna vote against the law. I'm not gonna break the law.
Do we have anybody in favor, or anyone who wants to make a motion?
Where is that?
Do we need to read the entire thing?
You would need a motion to, if you'd like to adopt, motion to adopt
21
ordinance
A.
518. And then it's on the screen.
Okay. I will make a motion to adopt ordinance 24-518, amending, imposing, and updating water and wastewater impact fees on new development in the city limits, but to the extent allowed by law.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Hey,
Aye.
Let the record reflect the motion carries. Okay, moving on to B, discuss and consider adopting ordinance 24-519, an ordinance appropriating adopting a budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025.
This is adopting the budget as is, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Which we've already discussed.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 24-519, an ordinance appropriating adopting a budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
nay.
Let the record reflect the motion carries. Discuss and consider ordinance 24-520, an ordinance adopting a tax rate and levying taxes for the use and support of the municipal government of the city of Richwood, Texas, and providing for the interest and sinking fund of the taxable year 2024.
This one does have specific language for adoption. I'm gonna,
So isn't that our tax rate?
yeah, I'm gonna put it up and give me a second to zoom in so you can see the exact wording required. And just know this rate we put in there, just going by the record vote, you can ad lib whatever rate it is you'd like to adopt, and I will amend this with the information from the vote. So it's this portion here. If
Can
you
you
want
zoom
to,
in anymore?
yeah, sorry.
Old eyes.
Is that
I'll
better?
make a motion that the property tax rate be decreased by adoption of the tax rate of,
Sorry, Jeremy.
0.535799, which is effective a 0.089% decrease in the tax rate. For the
I'll second.
2020.
Point
Did I say that right?
0.089 is 0.89.
0.89, sorry. Do I
Sorry.
need to reread that? Or not?
You can read it.
Okay. I'll move that the property tax rate be decreased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.535799, which is effectively a 0.89% decrease in the tax rate.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Okay, let the record reflect the motion carries. Action item D. Sam?
No, I was just talking to myself, sorry.
Action item D, discuss and consider authorizing the Public Works Director to solicit bids and select lowest responsible bidder for repair to lift station number 6 in an amount not to exceed $300,000.
He's coming back.
Sorry.
I thought he left.
Do you have the Word document
From the packet?
from the package?
Sure.
I just wanted to give a visual reference.
Yeah, give me just a
When I talk about it.
This is one by the water tower.
No, this is the one by the pool, it's over on College Pool.
Sorry, Cliff, 1 second.
What's that pipe made out of, stainless?
Ductile iron.
Ooh,
Do they call that pig iron?
I've heard it called that, yeah. Yes, sir.
not good for our environment. Or
Which
with this
part, Cliff?
environment.
What do you want it on?
You had those illustrations that I sent, did you include them?
Yep.
Yep, so give me the whole line if you can, I think it's the third one down, Kirsten.
Okay. That one?
Okay, yeah, that's probably the best visual reference I can get. So just off to the
Sorry,
top
it's
right of
not
that
in
photograph is Richwood's Lift Station 6. During the month of July, when we experienced a 22 1/4 inches rainfall, we began to experience failure within this portion of the Lift Station 6 force main. Upon the first repair that was made to the main, we found that the ductile iron piping had become so thin that it began to fail. And that's what caused the leak. This is also why you see 3 clamps there instead of 1. Main reason it's all we could do to try to plug the hole. We do have a 4th repair, a 50-inch total length clamp coming to us to try to get this to stop dripping, hemorrhaging, what have you. So at this point in time, this force main was constructed probably somewhere around 1980. The point of failure that you see is close to air relief valve. But due to the condition of that section of pipe and the consistent age of all the piping, we're trying to be as safe as we can and assume that the rest of that piping is probably fairly worn as well. It might even be close to failure as well. The only repair that I can think of that will maintain integrity, ensure that we can keep transferring wastewater to Clute, which we pass our water through to the wastewater treatment plant, is a complete replacement of this line. I think to do anything else based on what we've seen, based on my opinion, would be futile.
This would be the entire line from that point all the way to Clute, or?
No, it's only where it leaves the ground, where you see the bushes on the other side of the creek,
Yeah.
and the 90's down right below that, it enters the ground there. So one of the main reasons for failure in infrastructure like this is it's not the water, it's not wastewater, it's hydrogen sulfide. So when you force water up elevations like this, back down to ultimately get to a gravity feed collection main, once everything equalizes out, there's air in this line. That's what the air relief valve is, because under pressure it will cavitate and it can bleed that air off. But the air, the hydrogen sulfide gas, is what essentially chews through everything. It deteriorates concrete, steel, anything over time. So, and we believe that's what's happened here. And so, since we have a elevation variation of maybe a couple inches from one side to the other, we have to assume that the pipe itself has been exposed all the way across the same hydrogen sulfide gas over the same period of time. And we're not brave enough to go up there and start tapping it with hammers to see where it's weak. So, as of now, when we first looked at it, we thought that bypass pumping operations would be a little bit more streamlined. I think that was just my overly ambitious nature to keep it as cheap as I could keep it. So Public Works was going to assume responsibility for bypass pumping. I've talked to Clute. We do have to cross, I believe it's Williamsburg, College Drive, another access road over there to AT&T infrastructure to meet a manhole that is about halfway down, what's the elementary school there?
Madge Griffith.
Madge Griffith, halfway down their playground, between the back of the school, really, and the front of the school. That's where this line dumps out. And
What
it's
is
where
it, 750 feet?
770 feet, and ultimately, to my knowledge, is where our responsibility stops. So that's a pretty long discharge.
Do you use the same type of material to replace it?
We were going with the same. In my opinion, we've gotten over 40 years of service out of this line. We could go back with something like HDPE at probably an increased cost of $50,000 to $75,000, or we could go with something like this and be comfortable that we've got another 35-year investment.
I have a couple questions about the repair. Is the street going to be closed at all while y'all are making this repair?
Well, that's remains to be seen. Talk with Clute. We propose road crossings with a lie flat cam lock line where traffic coming out of Williamsburg College Park would go over, so we would not have to close the street. They're not heavy on that idea just because of the location. So to answer your question is no. But the manner in which we get the pipe in there is still undetermined. They might require us to bore under Williamsburg.
Well, it concerns me greatly because of the H2S exposure that is immediate and deadly.
Talking about from the bypass, just the whole situation.
If you have an H2S leak.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm assuming the people working on this are going to be wearing like a self-contained breathing apparatus. So what are we doing to protect pedestrians in the area? I'm just concerned about the potential exposure.
I understand.
I don't want to kill people while we're replacing a sewer pipe.
Work around H2S. I don't want
Hydrogen sulfide gas. You don't smell it. You're just dead instantly.
Yeah, you don't even get dizzy from what they tell me.
Look
But
at Eric.
it's what my experience, man, is with working with hydrogen sulfide. A lot of it, I guess you could compare it to the combustibility of natural gas. You know, if you have a lot of oxygen with hydrogen sulfide, it dissipates. Natural gas, it's explosive. But if there's a lot of oxygen to displace that, it's heavier than air, and it's below. We have meters, we can go sniff the area, but if you have good circulation, that really probably would be the least of my worries.
What do they do? So when they start replacing this, I mean, that's our wastewater line is.
So we have
They
to
do it all in,
bypass the
like-
station. That's what I was getting to with the distance and where we have to bypass to. Talking with Clute, their perception on my ideas of bypassing the station were that they were substandard. Now, he didn't tell me that. He's trying to help me out. He understands I'm doing what I can to keep the costs down and get the job done, but I think that they want a bypass with a little bit more integrity behind it. since we are gonna be bypassing probably anywhere between
Because
2 and 4 weeks.
say we get like some major rain event or something while they're trying to work on this thing, then it,
We would have to bring in a second pump.
oh, yeah, okay.
So based on that, we backed away from trying to do the pumping operations ourselves. We want to request quotes for the force main replacement and to manage pumping operations for it.
Cliff, roughly what's our flow rate through there daily?
On a given day, without rain,
Yeah.
between 350 and 400,000 gallons.
With rain?
Between 1.2 and 2.7 million.
There you go.
Hey Cliff,
Sir?
can I see one of those other pictures where you're looking straight at it?
Absolutely. So it's a
Yeah.
good point. That's a good
So,
one there.
so this one was interesting to me because I see that the one in the center has rusted bolts, little discolored, like maybe something's been flowing on it, like it's been there a little bit longer. How long has this been going on?
That clamp was there 3 weeks before the other clamp.
It's probably the type of metal
Can,
the bolts are made
okay,
out of.
can you go up to the other picture where it showed all three? I'm not a pipe
this
expert,
one?
but yeah, this one.
Okay.
So, one thing that I noticed was, it looked like that maybe got pressure washed, because it was pretty dirty last time I saw it. But then also, you see that little, bright, see it's where a little bit brighter, like something's been leaking down directly on that pipe right there? Do you think there's some acid or something that's dripping
Run
on the
off from the
pipe?
road above it.
Yeah,
Oh, are you talking about the concrete?
yeah, see it's a little lighter.
No, I
Oil from the road.
wouldn't think that, Mr. Challenger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an anomaly. I
Is-
can't
is-
explain it.
Is the hole on the top or the bottom? Is it?
It's on both. It's on the top side. I think one is close towards the bottom.
How big is that pipe?
Halfway down, where the water level exists, we don't see holes.
So where the water, so that's why you're saying it's the gases?
Yes,
Is making it maybe corrode internally?
yes, sir. That's
we-
what we believe. We've seen it in past
Yeah.
lives.
I'm just thinking that this might be a big hornet's nest. And I'd really love to be able to say, hey, maybe as a precaution, we could maybe get some NDT in there and check out the pipe. And if the pipe is okay, we could possibly put a cap on it.
Well, and that's what we did. When we had
You
to
welded a
repair it.
cap on it?
No. What we
think you
did
can
is
weld
we
that.
looked at the condition of the pipe, and in that area and beyond, we can say at least that much. We don't know how much of that piece of pipe or any other piece of pipe within that 170 feet, but it's gotten paper thin, and you can just take chunks off with your hand.
What's the velocity, do you know?
No, sir, I don't know. Gallons per minute?
Your velocity, typically you pump force main 3 foot per second.
No, I don't know.
So, you're saying the wall is thin
Yes, sir.
but you don't know, obviously, don't touch it. Don't touch the other pipes?
No, I mean, we've,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you looked at it. What extent did you look at it? You just kind of glanced at it, you tapped on it?
Well, we've performed 2 of the 3 repairs that you see here. So we've had our hands on it, been over the side with lifts, been over the side with ladders, taking the clamps on, taking them off, put them back on,
Yeah.
and saw the condition within this area.
Did you start with the left one pictured and move your way to the right
That's correct.
with the clamps? So, at
Well,
the rate
2
you're
of them
going?
happened simultaneously, and then the one next to it was continued failure of the pipe.
At the rate you're going, it's gonna be just a giant clamp,
Well,
essentially.
we're moving to 50 inches on Tuesday or Wednesday.
When they're doing that, you say on Tuesday or Wednesday, is it possible for us to get some, next Wednesday, someone to give us a report on the thickness of the metal, like and do an eddy current inspection or something, just on that section? I'm not talking the whole pipe, but just the section that's failed. Because I'd really like to know if we can put a cap on it.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking, if we go down this road, it's going to be this pipe, and then we're going to have all kinds of stuff up underneath it, and not to mention just the inconvenience of a street and possibly the sewer being, subpar for who knows how long. I mean, this is a major, major thing, in my opinion.
It is.
And I'd say
You're the
take
next
every
good
precaution that we can to be.
This one?
Well, it is,
Yeah.
and
Right,
that's
that one
why
right there.
I'm petitioning the council to replace the whole thing. I understand what you're saying. We have to assume I don't want to say assume, we have to be hopeful that everything underground that is underwater has not suffered the same damage. That's above ground, that's been introduced to the H2S. But that's all we can do.
Two things real quick. One, if you saddle anything, when you weld, and you're welding to a base metal, the base metal has to have integrity. If you look at the bolts on the clamp, to the left where the center is, and then look at the rise. So you see the one on the left.
Yeah, it looks like it's gotten caved in or
Okay,
something.
that means it's collapsed.
It's crushing under the pressure of the
You
clamp.
cannot weld to that, to put a
no.
saddle on that.
Okay.
So that pipe is shot. So we're having to go in now, we're having to put in another piece of, from here down.
To try to get pipe that
To
maintains
squeeze.
some degree of integrity to stop the hemorrhaging of sewer water.
So there is no, it's impossible to weld to that. It just, you can't weld to
So
that.
from our operational perspective, Mr. Challenger, that's why I make this case.
I don't know, I'm not a welder or a pipe guy.
And
I'm
request this is because.
I'd like to have someone that's their profession,
Yeah.
you know, say, yeah,
But
it's not repairable.
To be safe, we have to assume that we're facing, it's not on only this one section, but the rest of the 170 feet, that's exposed to hydrogen sulfide. If we don't, we can replace this one joint. Like I say, I think it's futile. If you have something else fail, you replace the next joint. How much more do you want to do that before you
We could
fix the problem?
just keep welding clamps until
Yeah.
I don't know.
Band-Aids.
I just know it's gonna be a mess.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, and it's kind of like that whole theory, where do you stop? Because you're gonna get under the ground, and then you're gonna go, oh my gosh, this
We
is
don't know
bad,
for
you know?
certain. We don't
That's
know,
why
but
I'm
what we
saying.
can do
Just what's exposed.
is we can address what we believe is subject to the issue that caused this. That's all we can do. And if I can't do that much, then council needs to
So that's what you're
understand
planning on doing is actually just addressing this issue right now? And what is your plan going forward, I guess, would be the.
to replace the entirety of that force main from where it leaves the ground on the east side of the creek to where it goes back in the ground on the west side of the creek.
Okay.
Everything you see pictured.
Yes, sir.
I wish we could have a professional
We're saying
give
not to
us a
exceed
document. I think that would take a lot off our back.
Total
Not to
project
exceed.
cost, yeah. Yeah, and that's the best we can do at this point in time, but without something like this, I can't move forward.
So was your
And we're on the verge of an emergency where your city doesn't have sewer services.
was that 300,000 you have here, was that the cost of pipe and labor to put it in?
Pipe, labor, and pumping, that's our best assumption.
Okay.
I'd imagine the labor is the
Extreme
expensive
worst
part
case.
This
of
is the
that.
most, we don't,
That's,
the goal is to not
Amount
use
not
that
to
much, but
exceed
it's not
that.
that much of need.
I'll make a motion to approve item D.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm not ready, so nay.
Let the record reflect the motion carries.
Thank you.
You know, I thought real quick, Cliff, I've seen that there's some kind of technology out there that rejuvenates pipes. I don't know what it is, but I've seen it. I don't know.
It's an epoxy coating.
Yeah, and it goes down the pipe, right?
Yes.
Is that something feasible for this or no?
For 16-inch line on a force main, because when generally they seal it, they have an entry point and an exit point, you have to make it back up. I think it will probably be a little bit, I would say not feasible.
Is it out of this budget realm? Is it what I'm getting at?
This 300,000, we will do a budget amendment once we know full amounts.
No, he was talking about the budget just for the project.
What I'm saying is like, I didn't get to propose that fix, because I've seen that pipe rejuvenation thing, because it comes across my social media all the time. I didn't know if that was something that was explored in this, or was just putting in new pipe.
Well, hopefully we get some good contractors, I can definitely look into it.
Okay.
That's
mean,
I heard
what I'm saying
about
at this point in time.
they could put
We are
some
not allowed
inside the
to
pipe?
No.
We are
Oh,
not
that's
allowed
it.
to have
Yeah,
That's a different
That's it.
thing.
it's a different thing, it's under compressed air, it's a epoxy-coated material that's actually pressurized and blown through the pipe and seals the inside. But with that, you reduce your capacity, you downsize your pipe. In a force main, it might not be that important, but it's something to consider. When you do it, you have to make sure you have the necessary capacity to
Correct.
downsize.
Okay, we'll revisit this. Thank you. Moving on to discussion and action item E, discuss and consider adopting ordinance 24-512, adopting and enacting a new code for the city of Richwood, Texas.
So 2 years ago, council authorized a fairly large sum of money for me to reach out to MuniCode for legal review of our code of ordinances. And what they did was they went through our entire code of ordinances, they compared it to state law, and I worked with a few different staff attorneys that they had there to compare that and make changes that our current ordinance is in conflict with state law. So there were a few blue laws that were in ordinance that have been removed from this report that you were given, which is actually the new code is what you were given. So nothing substantial that council enacted or passed has been changed. Everything is still there. It's just reorganized. There's renumbering. It cleaned it up a lot. Our ordinances were kind of all over the place as far as organization and numbering. It didn't give us much room to insert new ordinances as they're adopted for new sections of the code. So 2 years later, we are finally finished, and they have presented us with a new code and an adopting ordinance that will then give them the authority to publish it.
Do we have to read this whole thing?
So can you pull
Just
up
adopt the
the first page of the Muni Code, or
For the
what-
report?
Yeah, or whatever you sent us on the agenda.
Okay.
So scroll down just a little bit. Scroll down. Okay, right there.
Okay.
So it has our names on it. Did we already approve this?
That's changed every time council is,
Well,
Updated.
so scroll down a little bit. I guess go to the Muni Code then.
like our actual code of
Yeah,
ordinances? Okay, that's probably the council
Because
list.
it says it different. It has it basically as we're the officials over it, but who adopted it was a different group.
Right, it was
Right.
probably the council that was in place at the time of this codification.
Right. So are you asking us to recodify it?
The update,
So their names will go away and ours will stay.
your names will replace, this will be the code posted online.
Okay, go to Unicode so I can see y'all can see what I'm talking about.
MuniCode shows you there
Yeah, yeah.
also.
So keep going down. So it says current officials,
It's you,
right? And then keep going down, and then it has
right.
officials of codification. Are you going to put our names there?
It'll,
codification?
because y'all are recodifying the code of ordinances.
Okay.
It's not saying y'all are passing all of the ordinances, those have already been passed. You are passing an ordinance recodifying it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. You take my name off that right now. As a matter of
I mean,
fact,
your name will
I'm
stay
not
on as
okay
long as
with
it
the
passes.
fact that it's already been distributed electronically with my name on it. That's how I feel about
It's
it.
been sent to you, that's it. What do you mean it's
Well,
been distributed electronically?
It was put on the agenda on the website.
Because it's up for discussion.
Yeah, but I haven't approved it. How's my name on it already?
Right, because it's an action item to
Now,
approve
this is a
it.
constitutional item that we've basically just put my name on without my permission.
Goodness. You're an elected official.
I'm okay with the
And that's
official
all it's
part. I'm not
listing, is that you are
codifying
the
it,
elected
though.
official.
I'm not
Then
codifying
don't
it.
vote for it.
And
Okay.
if my name gets on that, even afterwards, we're
It
going to have
has
a
to be.
big problem.
It has to be.
Well,
I mean,
there's
these
going
are
to be a big
attorneys
problem.
that,
Let's not throw any threats here, guys.
Yeah, that's-
This is an action item. You're allowed to discuss your piece, but let's not throw threats. I'm getting tired of it tonight.
I mean, this will be what's adopted, if it is.
God, we are grown adults. I'm the youngest one
This is
here.
a fucking constitutional
Calm
item.
yourself down.
You're bringing it up. This is a constitutional item.
Correct.
You've already put my name on it.
Hey, let's
Yes.
have a little bit of decorum here, guys, please. Respect
Yes.
each other, please.
Everybody's yelling at everybody. You're allowed to speak your piece. That's what we're here for. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Challenger.
I'm not okay with them putting my name on it.
We agree, we understand that, okay?
This is y'all's problem.
Do we need to read the whole thing, or can
You
I
can
just?
just motion to adopt the ordinance.
I will make a motion to adopt ordinance 24-512.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Nay, my name does not go on that.
Let
It
the
goes
record
on that.
reflect, the motion carries. We don't have any items removed from consent agenda, so we will move on to capital improvements projects update.
The Barber project, South Water Plant are now officially closed out. Punch list items were reviewed. There were just a couple that have already been taken care of. Generator
You need to
pads
stop.
for the new generator. I'm sorry?
What?
I'm talking to him.
Oh,
So,
the generator
We don't
pad-
need any other comments. You have the floor, sir.
Okay. The generator pads for the project have been poured on 8/16. Currently, we are upgrading gas service to these generators. They require more than what the existing meter can provide, and we still need to run new service to another site. Let's see, MITMOD project, advertisements for bid are underway. Everything is set for the top bidder or best bidder, most responsible, to be presented to council on October 8th for a project award. We did have our initial meeting with GLO. I guess the good thing about it, we're ahead of the curve. Design is complete. We're waiting for the official release of funds, which should be around the end of September. Once we get that, it'll just be project award, contract signing, and off and running. We originally thought we were going to start construction probably somewhere around November. As of now, with the holidays, signing of contracts, and all the other parts of the project, we're assuming it's probably going to be after January 1 of 2025 before we get started. But as of now, I think that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Cliff?
Thanks, Cliff.
Thank you.
Next up is city manager report.
The other thing I've got to add, Mayor and Council, from the update Friday is the storm tracking that we're doing now. That's it.
That's all you have?
That's it.
Okay, Councilmember Stahlberg, do you have anything to add?
We've already talked about the storm, the weather. We need to look at that. When stuff like this happens, like Mr. Challenger already said, we all come out and help each other. If y'all know anybody, like I've said before, that is in need of any type of assistance, whether it be water, diapers, formula, anything like that with the upcoming weather, or even without the weather. My wife and I are always there for everybody. I don't care who you are. You can give them my phone number. They can call me. We need to all continue to work together and try to be as professional as possible up here. I guess that's about it. Everybody be safe and reach out.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Challenger, do you have anything to add?
I'm a disgrace to be here.
Well, thank you for your comments. Councilmember Reynolds?
So this is probably the third instance that we've had to have a similar conversation. And to anyone in the audience and those watching, I'd like to apologize on behalf of this council. Mr. Challenger's behavior
You're going to be
is...
apologizing real soon whenever they
You're
find
gonna
out
stop.
what's on there.
You're gonna stop. I am speaking.
You're speaking my name, too.
Stop.
This is Amanda's turn.
You've had your public comment, it's now Amanda's turn.
She's saying it's my name.
But you had your public comment.
Once again, he's demonstrated his unprofessional behavior. It is embarrassing and it's abhorrent, and I am sorry that he does not know how to behave and has not mustered the strength to have some self-control while he's on this council.
Is that it, Ms. Reynolds?
Yep.
Thank you. Councilmember Yerson?
I would like to second what Councilmember Stahlberg had to say. Also, Ms. Reynolds, I second her and agree with her 100%. If anybody up here feels like it's a disgrace to be here, I mean, no one's making you stay here. No one's forcing you to be here. We all stood up and volunteered to take this position, volunteered to do what was right and conduct ourselves in that manner. And I have to agree that if, that's not something you're capable of doing or you're not up for doing, then I feel there's other people that would gladly take that position. So for the ones of you that do conduct yourself as such, I'd say thank you, and that's it.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Fountain, do you have anything to add?
No comment at this time.
Nothing?
Not at the moment. I'll let it be.
Should we circle back?
No, maybe next week.
Okay. How do I say this? We are all adults here. Each and every one of us. I ran for this position so that we could unite Richwood, not divide Richwood. It hurts me to see the division here. I appreciate every one of you guys' backgrounds. It brings something to this table. I don't see why we can't come to a common goal and come together for this city as adults. I feel like I'm at home with my 2-year-old son right now. We have been working good together. I hope we can get back to that. Next, I would like to send a message to the fire department. We used to see them here at these meetings. I have yet to see them in a few months. There's a big month next month for the Brazoria County, and I really hope that they can show up and make their presence known for the Brazoria County Fair, because it means a lot to the kids. I was part of it last year, and I plan on being a part of it this year. Lastly, I would like to truly thank our previous mayor, Mayor Boykins, for all the weather updates he provides. He is doing a good job of keeping our family safe, or as safe as he can, with getting us the most current updates. So thank you, sir. That's all I have. Do we have any items of community interest?
Yeah, so October 1st is National Night Out. Chief and his crew are working hard to make sure that we have a great event, as always. So I hope that each of you could attend and that the public attends. Also, Trunk or Treat is around the corner. We're going to do it on October 25th from 6 to 8. I'm looking for any vendor that would like to participate to decorate a trunk and pass out candy or goodies to anyone that attends. This is open to individuals, businesses, any organization that wants to participate. There is a link that you can sign up to be a part of that. That's all.
Do we have anything in regards to the scary stuff that was put on last year?
I'm going to reach out. Leslie's not on Caribbean anymore, but I was planning on reaching out to her this week to see if maybe she wanted to work with Caribbean to help them. It's actually on their agenda to talk about tomorrow. To maybe work with them on a fundraising opportunity.
Okay. Do we have any future agenda items?
We're going to have update to possible updates for our procurement policy. We should have charter review appointments, possible bid award for the MITMOD project, and maybe some grant information. And that should do it. I'm sure something else will pop up, but that's what we got now, right now.
While we're still alive, everybody please make sure that they will keep an eye on this storm, because the weatherman has not been very right this year. Any other items to discuss?
What was the second date on that deal you were talking about?
Which one?
You got National Night Out October 1st.
And then Trunk or Treat's October 25th. It's a Friday. We'll do it from 6 to 8 p.m.
Is that plastic recycling?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot that. Caribbean is doing a soft plastics recycling program. There's a Next Trex bin in our lobby. We're taking grocery bags, garbage bags, all of your soft plastics, the vegetable bags. If they can raise 1,000 pounds in a year, we can get a new park bench for free.
Oh, and no, so far, still no mattresses, Eric, at the bins.
That's good.
Sorry, I'm off topic, but let's, yeah.
Okay, with no other items to discuss, the time is now 7:30.